This actually, being a little bit of a rebel by nature, actually we were going to have just our two colleagues, Sophie and Maurizio, but actually, when having talked to Christian, he has such a great knowledge, I thought it would be a shame not to bring it in for him first, to give a little bit of kind of framing context, because one of the things with the oceans is it's such a complex, a massive issue, is that we could talk about lots of things, and actually Florent highlighted some of those. But what we're going to do in this section is kind of narrow it down a little bit, just to enable our brains not to explode too much. So what we're going to do is, I'd like actually, if Christian could kind of like maybe quickly introduce yourself and then give a framing for us, and then we'll get you two to introduce yourselves, and then we'll have that kind of round table conversation, and then Christian is going to stay with us through the rest of this session. So, Christian.
Thanks a lot, Adam, for giving me this heavy responsibility. So I'm Christian Lim, I'm a co-founder of Blue Oceans Partners, and what we do is invest in innovations that help regenerate ocean health. So you can imagine that every day we think about what is the best strategy, to solve ocean challenges, including cracking pollution. So, of course, we won't, give you, we won't try to even scratch the surface of a global strategy. But if we focus just on plastic pollution, and I think we have here, we're very fortunate to have two front runners, two, entrepreneurs who are devising solutions to crack plastic pollution. The way we look at it as an investor trying to help solve this problem is that I think most of you are aware that plastic pollution in the ocean mostly comes from Southeast Asia. And therefore, it would seem natural that we want, the problem is about building infrastructure in Southeast Asia. Let's focus on this and let's get it done. Unfortunately, as you said, it's not as simple. First, it may look on the surface of it that the problem is in Southeast Asia, but the reality is that until very recently, we've been, as Europeans or North Americans, shipping a large share of our actually waste to Asia, Southeast Asia, and now it's not possible anymore. And why were we doing this? Because our own infrastructure is not in such a great shape. So we do have to work to do actually in Europe. So that's the first point. The second point is that if we ask ourselves at a more deeper level, why is it that infrastructure is not in place in Southeast Asia? It's actually because of economics. We're not managing to find the funds to finance this infrastructure, and we've not managed to do it in the past decades. So why is it that suddenly today we think, oh, the problem is there, so let's get the money and let's invest in that? Why do we think it's going to happen? And the reality is that it's not going to happen as simply because the economics don't work. There is no value to waste today, and so there is no incentive to build this infrastructure. And there are other priorities. There are health issues, there's education, there is, so we don't think that if we continue operating in the system as it is today, suddenly we're going to have lots of money going into building infrastructure in Southeast Asia. But remember, we say the problem is the economics, so what can we do about the economics? So as Blue Oceans Partners, but also many other, all of us who are trying to putting our brains into solving this issue, and I think this is the case, of our fellow panelists here, we think that one of the solutions to make the economics work is actually innovation. So what if we couldn't put on the market innovations that would make, let's say, waste plastic so valuable, like performing at a level that is on par or is even better than virgin plastic, fossil fuel based plastic, and that would be competitive on the price basis as well. Then if you think about this, suddenly the economics change. This waste plastic becomes suddenly a valuable feedstock. And then you think, oh, I may want to invest in infrastructure to collect it. But why have we suddenly changed the way we look at it? Because there are people like Maurizio or Sophie who are have brought on the market innovations that change the economics. They change the system in which we operate. And that's what we want, and that's why it's so amazing to have entrepreneurs, like the two of you on stage and showing what you're doing to solve this problem.
Great, and I think this is, talking about system, is that actually the system both needs to be innovation, that the Eagers guys are representing. It needs to be governments and regions making that choice, and actually that's something Extinction Rebellion is very focused on, is how the governments make those choices. But also, the other strand is the behaviour change, which is what Florent was mainly talking about as well. So I think it's going to be great to ask you more about what you're doing to innovate. So if you'd just like to kind of like give quick introductions to your businesses and your solution, and maybe a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go into a bit of a deeper discussion. Sophie.
Yes, maybe I can start. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sophie. I'm a Business and Alliance Director for Carbiolice. Carbiolice is a French biotech company, and we have developing a unique solution currently in order to solve plastic pollution. Maybe most of you may not know that even if recycling is a good solution for cracking pollution and cracking plastic pollution especially, not all the plastic can unfortunately be recycled. Even if there are massive investment in recycling infrastructure, there are so many varieties of plastics available on the market. So today at Carbiolice, we have developed a complementary solution based on home composting in order to make plastic that cannot be recycled home compostable. Of course, not all plastic could be home compostable. We have designed our innovation on a specific plastic which is renewable, made of renewable resources in order to, let's say, decrease also the impact on CO2 emission and greenhouse gas emission. And we have developed an additive that will be introduced directly by the transformers directly into the final articles. I took one example here. We can take the example of a cup. It could also be a yogurt cup that today is not recyclable just because it's soiled by food. So today, your yogurt pot cannot be recycled. Thanks to our innovation, you can put your yogurt cup in a domestic composter, and the yogurt cup will be fully disintegrated and composted together with your food waste in your domestic composter. It means at home or in the cities or at the end of your garden. So we really think we can put on the market a breakthrough technology, giving us the opportunity to increase also the impact we could have, let's say, to leverage plastic pollution.
Right.
Hi, my name is Maurizio Crippa. I'm the inventor of the technology on green. I'm the CEO of the company. What we do is something that you know. Let me ask it to you, who never used a bottle of water? Everybody.
I think so.
Who never used a backpack or a sportswear jacket? Nobody. Well, a bottle of water or a backpack or a sportswear jacket are the same material. It's PET polyester. This is, for example, was white bottles of milk. This was a textile. Well, from a bottle of milk or from a bottle, you can produce a textile, a backpack. And then later what you do? Nothing. You can throw away. But through us, we produce this, which is completely new, virgin-like polymer. Then from a backpack, back to a bottle. That's what we do. We do, of course, with chemistry. Chemistry is not bad by definition, not at all. We are done in chemistry. We are polyamides, protein bodies. Then chemistry can be used for something very good. That's what we do.
Great.
Thank
And so I'd be curious, actually, what was the kind of emotional, personal reason as to why you decided to choose to kind of invent this chemical or join this company? Because I'm sure you could go off and work for a bank and get very well paid and not maybe have to deal with the challenge that we've got here. So, yeah, what's kind of motivating you to take this journey?
First of all, at personal feeling, As a mother, I really want that my children can live in a better world, also discover the beauty of the ocean, discover the beauty of the beaches, make sure they can discover also what exists in the marine diversity. As a mother, for my family and for my kids. But as an entrepreneur, I also want to make innovation, scalable innovation with economics and making sure that we can enter into a circular economy with plastics.
Right. Maurizio?
I'm a material scientist, then I could work in whatever. But there was a picture done by Voyager. Carl Sagan convinced the NASA to turn the Voyager and take a picture of the Earth. There was a pale blue dot, our planet. There is no planet B. Then I say, what's I going to use my knowledge and my study to do something which is not good for the planet, that the only house I have for me and for my people, I'm going to do for this. That's why. It's a simple.
Great, yeah. So, and how are you, how are you working? Because the system, as Christian was highlighting, isn't necessarily helping as much as it could do. So what are some of the things that you're doing at the moment to help kind of like try and grow these entrepreneurial exercises that you're working on?
Yes, so in order to, let's say, deploy what we have developed, we are trying as much as possible to involve all stakeholders, going from, let's say, plastic converters, because they are the ones that are going to use our additive. So, of course, it's important for us to be part of the journey, but it's also very important for us to bring on board also corporation, big corporate, a brand name that will follow us on composting as a reliable and affordable alternative for plastic pollution.
Great. Okay, Maurizio?
For me, it was when I designed the way to recycle. Was the point was to able to create something that was competitive and to create a business, not business for business, but in order to create the infrastructure, you need to create something which satisfies all the needs of the society. And one of the needs is to create something that is good economically, not just the environment. Try to combine everything positive, which is not easy all the time. But
yeah, let's say, I think sustainability is of course, of primary interest. We are all there for sustainability. But sustainability makes sense only if it's environmentally friendly, but also economically sustainable. Otherwise, there is no business. I fully agree with you.
yeah, exactly.
So one of the things I think some of the people that might be here today will be curious about is not just the challenge of cracking ocean pollution, but how do they get into helping with environmental problems? Some of them here might be wanting to crack ocean pollution, but there might be other things. Can you give me some illustration of your personal journey as an entrepreneur and maybe any of the challenges or the successes you've had that can maybe inspire these people here that actually it's not all easy and also it can be sometimes very thrilling. So maybe some ideas about what it's like to be an entrepreneur.
I can start if you want.
Yeah, let's go.
First of all, it's a very long journey because back to the basis, it's also R&D project at the beginning. So it's also a long time, a long process development, gathering many stakeholders, yes, sorry. So afterwards, once the project takes shape, then you have to convince. Yeah, then you have to raise money, and then you have also to convince the different stakeholders in the industry to try it, to be the first runner. I mean, so that's really the most critical point, I think, for a young company, a young startup, to, let's say, bring in our journey a big brand, big name, and make sure they are involved. Because some of them are very cautious and don't want to take the risk to be the first to test your solution. So I think that's really a challenge for companies like us. And it takes a lot of efforts also to succeed in that. We are fortunate today We are currently industrializing the solution. We have some transformer coming with us, trying and proving, demonstrating that it works. Then we can reach home composting with some plastics in several applications where recycling is not a solution for the moment. So that's very successful for us.
Excellent, exciting.
I should say that the journey starts very early in the morning, because when you are an entrepreneur, you really are never out of duty. I have to say this. But it's exciting, because despite all the problems that Sophie described, find the first adopter of your technology, raising money, I'm talking about millions of euros. We were lucky because we have the European Commission. We got 12 million euros on our projects to develop the technology. Money from the public, and it was a big help, of course, but still, we are not commercial. Despite all the economics on the paper are fine, because you have to convince people to invest with your words, with your job, with your enthusiasm. That's, I think, is the first thing. I'm not saying that some days are not good days. Yesterday was not a good day for me. I was quite crunchy. But today is a good day. And I'm optimistic at the 99% of my time. Enthusiasm is the first. Especially I see a lot of young people here. Please, go ahead.
Great. So I think this is something, and the reason why I'm bringing up this entrepreneurial journey is that obviously it feels really powerful to be able to say go down and use your smartphone to use it for AI like Surf Rider, or actually go and do a beach clean. You can feel a very direct connection. But what I think we're seeing here is actually through the real hard work and persistence that you guys are doing, it's actually will have longer term things, because it's all about creating the system, helping the system change. So just we're coming to the end of this little section. What sort of final words might you have to the audience about how they might engage, or your journey, something that can help inspire them a little bit?
I think, first of all, we are all concerned by plastic pollution, and everyone can act at his own level. I mean, it can be at home, it can be in your company, it can be everywhere. I think it's really a change of mind that has to happen currently. And also, maybe sometimes think out of the box and try, make experience. And that's the way also innovation comes. We had several, let's say, examples in the company where we did think out of the box and finally find right solution to the issue we were facing. So be confident and stay passionate. I think that's really what it is important to succeed.
Thank you. And Maurizio?
Yeah, from me is that sometimes I see monothinking is very dangerous. I'm working in packaging since 2012, and I heard many answers to pollution. Okay, no more plastics, no more this, no more that. What? What's the basis of this? I think don't stop to the first answer, but go further and try to analyze deeper the situation. And then maybe there are many solutions that has to be implemented. But one is common, the wish that everybody has to take care about the planet.
Excellent.
This is my point.
Yeah, so for me, in summary, is that we can't continue polluting the ocean. In fact, we need to restore our oceans, because there are limits to what we can do in the ocean. But the thing that I'm picking up from what you're saying is there's no limits to our creativity, and there's no limits to our passion. And we can take that creativity and passion and help crack the ocean pollution problem. So thank you for being such modeling so beautifully that passion and that creativity. And it's a shame that actually we've now got to talk to Christian, but not in that sense, because I just love it to continue. But I think we've got so much more on a broad scale we're going to be talking with Christian about. So this has been brilliant. Thank you very much. And I'll say goodbye if you everybody give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you.